Hello everyone, Mr. Cyan Smoover here, and today I'll be doing a tutorial on how to mod Spongebob Squarepants Titans of the Tide. Now this is an Unreal 5 game. It's going to be very similar to my Unreal 4 tutorials, but there are a few tweaks that we have to go through in the cooking process in UE5 so that we can export with the proper files at the end. So first I'm going to start by grabbing a model that I want to replace. So I have the models resource open here. They have assets ripped from a ton of games. I use this for whenever I want to grab an easy mod to make. Let's just pick a character here. Okay, so here we have SpongeBob as Mermaid Man from Revenge of the Flying Dutchman. So I'm just going to download this and add that to Titans of the Tide. So the first thing that we're going to do is we want to download Fmodel if you don't have Fmodel already. And we're going to open up the Titans of the Tide files, the pack files. So these have the assets that we're going to be replacing here. So we're going to go into the Ghost Content GG, and Characters is going to have our SpongeBob model. So we open SpongeBob and check out all the costumes, and we can see these are all of the SpongeBob costumes. So let's pick one to replace. Okay, so I'm going to be replacing this Cuddly Bob model because you can see the whole thing is together except for the face, and we'll just cover that when we get in. So what we're going to do is export this, save model. Once the model is exported, it will say saved here. We can just click on that, it will open it in a folder. So we have this, and we're going to have our downloaded model here. That's the one I just downloaded for Mermaid Man SpongeBob. We'll make a folder, temporary folder for our mod. Call this Mermaid Man SpongeBob. We'll drag the model here. We'll drag to PSK here. So now we have our working folder. So now we have to open up Blender. I use 2.7. Yes, it's super old. But it works. So we're going to import both of these models. You will need a special plugin to import a PSK, which is what we exported from Fmodel. Gonna go to that folder, import this. This is our Cuddly Bob. I don't know why for this game the skeletons always import upside down, but I just rotate everything in X by 180. And I'm also going to import that Mermaid Man costume. Let me see what format it is. OBJ. So I'm going to import OBJ here. And so that's what that's going to look like. So I'm going to scale this up to be the right size. Because it's the same character, it should match pretty well. Yeah, see, it kind of just works. So that's good. Looks like the arms align well. Seems his arms are a little short on this costume, but that is okay. So I really want these arms to be out where the other hands are so that the model will map properly. So what I want to do is I'm going to tweak this model so that the hands line up. Actually, first thing I want to do is turn on textures so that I know what I'm looking at when I move things. We don't care about the textures on this guy. Textures here are good. So it looks like I'm safe to move this hand out, but I really want to combine these two into one. So that should be good. We're gonna remove doubles just to make sure that everything is connected. And then I want to line these vertices up. Let's pick just the hand. Grab it like here. Rotate it on X. Move it a little bit this way. And we're just trying to push these vertices into like the right spot. So we're gonna like take this, oops, turn on connected. If your model is already pretty where you want it to be, you don't have to do any of this. But we really want the models to line up as close as possible. And actually what I'm going to do is, because this is an older model, it's really super low poly and we don't need that much. We don't need to be that low poly. So I'm going to just subsurf. This might hurt any artists looking, but I don't need it to be that great. We're going to clear all of our sharps. And so now we have some decent fingers to work with. Oops. I'll grab this, move it here. The other finger's already in there. I'll grab this, move it here. Grab this, move it. Oops. Just want this. Move it this way. And if we really want, we can take this model and set it to be X-ray. Sorry, we'll set the other one to X-ray. This one to X-ray. So now when we edit this, we can see it on the inside. So we want to make sure that the fingers look good. Okay, so we're back, and I now have the Mermaid Man costume isolated. I've realized that because we're working with Spongebob himself, we can actually just completely cut out this middle thing right here and use the Spongebob model from the game. If you were not using Spongebob and you're using something else, you want to keep the entire thing, either cover Spongebob or replace that Spongebob model with an empty model to get rid of the Spongebob head. So what we're going to do here is I'm actually going to export the original head so that I have something to look at. The base Spongebob, here it is. We're going to save that model, and I'm going to import that model. So now that I have the head imported, we can turn off the X-ray on the bottom and we can see what it's going to look like. So if we were to import this right now, it would look like this. It looks pretty okay, but there's clearly some tweaks that we need to do. For instance, let's pull in the back. I'm going to actually tweak the head. Now I want to fix the nose. So I'm actually just going to grab all of the nose vertices and delete them. No nose. It does mean I have to take this and put it back. Actually, I don't want to join these two. I want to leave these separate because one is going to be the base and one is going to be the costume. So I'm going to keep the base as is. We didn't add any new vertices. We just moved a bit and deleted some. So this can actually stay as is. I'm going to rename the armature to armature, and this will stay. So we don't have to worry about this anymore for right now. Now we're going to take a look at the extra stuff that we have. What we want to do is transfer all the weights from the Cuddly Bob onto this new costume so that the new costume is weighted properly. So we're going to select our current costume that we're adding, and then we're going to select the one we're replacing. We're going to do Control-Shift-T, transfer mesh data, vertex groups, all layers by name, nearest, we want nearest vertex. So this will give us weights on our Spongebob costume. So now that we have that, we can delete the Cuddly Bob. We're going to put our new model under the Cuddly Bob skeleton, set parent to object. Rename this to armature. And we're going to, now we can add an armature modifier onto our new model. Make sure we're using the right one. And if everything was done correctly, this should move when I pose. So we can see the arm is moving. And we do have some rough weights, but it's working for the most part. Now from here, if you really want a smooth experience, what I'm going to do is go through and smooth out all the weights and make sure this thing is weighted properly. But if this is good for you, then you can go ahead to the next step. So what I'm going to do is go into my Spongebob, select vertex groups. So now it has all the proper vertex groups for the costume. We can delete any vertex groups that we don't need. We don't need the, oops. Well, actually, so we don't need the Cuddly Bob bones. We're going to delete those vertex groups. I think we need everything else. So what we're going to do is go one by one and make sure that the weighting is correct. And we're also going to smooth it out. So what I like to do is go through each one, and I just click the smooth button. We'll do 20 iterations. And it's not the greatest, it's not the prettiest, but hey, it works. So one thing I note here is that the spine is weighting the nose. I kind of don't want that. So what I'm going to do is first smooth everything. I'm going to select the nose, just the nose in edit mode. I'm going to remove weights from the nose in basically everything. And what I really want is for it to have weights on the nose. So I'm going to actually check the other skeleton. And we're going to look at its bones. This one has nose bones. So I'm actually going to put it on one of these nose bones. So that'll move with the nose now. So the rest of what I want to do is just go through and smooth out everything, pretty much. Okay, so I've smoothed everything out. Theoretically, if I move this armature, it should look a lot better than before. So if I move something like the hand, we'll see it moves much more naturally. I can move the fingers. I can move the legs. But really what we're going to want to do is import an animation and make sure that it looks good. So what we're going to do is go back into Fmodel. We'll pick the Spongebob animations folder. Now this will give us every single animation that Spongebob does in the game. So we want to pick something that gives a good indication of whether we have all of our weights correct. So we're going to export the attack animation. We'll click Save Animation. We'll open up that. And we're going to import our PSA. We'll import the attack animation. So now I can scrub through and see what it looks like when I attack. So the legs actually look pretty good. We have a little bit of weird stuff going on here. This arm, I'm not liking this arm. So regardless, this is good enough for us right now. There's a little bit of weirdness with the arms, as you can see. But I'm just gonna call it and say that's good enough for me. And he's gonna basically look like SpongeBob. So now that we have our costume armature, we're going to grab this and select both of these. Actually, what I want to do right now is save it so I don't lose all of this. We're going to grab these two. We're going to export as FBX. The name right now doesn't matter. But what it will be eventually, and we can actually just change it right now so we don't have to change it later, it's going to be replacing Cuddly Bob. So we're going to call it this. We're going to copy package name. So we're going to call it that. .fbx. We're going to export only the selected objects, set the scale to 0.01. That's the conversion between Blender and Unreal scale. And we want to turn off add leaf bones. Those are all the settings we're going to export with. We'll go ahead and export the costume. Then we're going to go back and export the head. So I'm actually going to delete our original one so that I can check on how the head is doing. We'll set this, make sure that's set to armature. We'll export these two. And we're going to export with the same settings, but instead we're going to call it something else. We'll call it main. Same settings. And so that's all we need from Blender. That was a lot, I know. But really it's up to the quality that you want. If, for example, right now I have some weird weighting on the arm. In a perfect world, I would fix this, but it's really up to you on what you want your model to look like. And you can fix the weighting on your own character to however you want. Right now, this is good enough for me. It's really important that it uses the same skeleton. All the vertices and textures are up to you. So I'm going to save this and leave Blender right now. And now what we're going to do is open up Unreal 5.6. So you're going to want the version of Unreal for your game. For Spongebob, it's 5.6. So I'm going to open up the Epic Games Launcher. So once you have your empty Unreal project loaded, what we're going to want to do is create a folder that is going to house our Cuddly Bob replacement costume. So we can see that it is in Ghost Content. So this project that we're in is Ghost. We already have a content folder. So we're going to need to make GG characters, Spongebob costumes, Cuddly Bob. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. So now we're in the proper location. We're going to take our FBX that we exported and we're going to drag it in. It's going to tell me that it's generating some stuff. That's perfectly fine. So what we have here is it's going to import everything associated. So we have the mesh itself. We have the materials. We have any textures that will show up. I don't have any textures on this model right now. And we're going to have a physics asset, which we actually don't want. So we're going to delete the physics asset. That's for things like the mermaid tail, if it like wobbles a little bit. So we don't want that. So we're going to delete that. Skeleton. We want skeleton is going to be named the same that it's named right here. So we can see our skeletal mesh is called this, but our skeleton is called this. So we're going to copy that name and we're going to set it to this. So our skeleton's named properly. Our skeletal mesh, we can go ahead and save that. As for our materials, this is our base Spongebob. So what we actually want to do is direct it to the original Spongebob textures. So in order to do that, we're going to find the default Spongebob head and where these exist. So they exist in GG characters Spongebob. So we want to take these three that are already named properly. We're going to move them under GG characters Spongebob. Click move here. And so now we have proper references to all of our materials. So now what we're going to do is import our actual costume. So that was the main. We're going to import the costume, FBX. We're going to go through the same process. Import. Everything comes in fine. We're going to delete the physics asset. We don't want that. We're going to delete the animation sequence. That's the thing we imported. We don't want that. Textures. We definitely want to keep the textures. We're going to save those. The materials we actually don't want right now. So we're going to delete these materials. we can keep the skeleton, and this one we can keep as well. So now we have our model imported and we have our textures imported, but what we're missing is our material that we're going to add. So we can reuse an existing material, but what we're going to do is create a new unique material that's based on an existing material. So the way that we're going to do that is we're going to look at this material that we have for the existing Cuddly Bob. It's actually a material instance. It's not a material itself, it's a material instance. So the material it's based on is actually this player character material. This is also a material instance. So we're going to go all the way back up to the player character material instance and find the original material, which is called MMM character. So we're going to want to create this material at this location. So we're going to go into that location, which is GG. We're going to create material library. We're going to create 0 material master. We're going to create our material right here. We'll create a new material. Call it the same exact thing. Now what's important about this material is that it has to have the same texture parameters as the materials that the textures that we want to attach to our model. So if you see, we have, actually for this model we only have a base color. We don't have, because this is from an old game, it doesn't have a normal or roughness. So really we just want to add, we're going to add a texture sample. We're going to drag the RGB into base color. We're going to check sampler type to linear color. And we're going to mark it as, right click, convert to parameter. And this parameter, the way that we find the name of the parameter is we go to the original material and we look at all of these parameter values. So it has scalar parameters, but what we really want is the texture parameters. So if we go to our Cuddly Bob material, we can actually see the parameters that it tries to set. So it has our base color, which is the Cuddly Bob texture, is called this parameter name, BCO. So we're going to name that parameter name BCO. And we're going to drag our color into this. Oh, right here. So this is going to be our base color. And that's going to be our base color for the materials we're creating. This doesn't actually have to be in the base material, but we're just going to apply it right now, so that way you can get rid of the errors. So now we have our master material, but we're actually going to create a material instance based on the master material. And that is going to be our material that we use. So we're going to call this MI main. We're going to create another one that is MI costume mermaid man. Let's rename this to be more specific as well. We're going to put these in the proper location. And we're going to open our skeletal mesh, and we're going to actually associate these materials. So, well, actually, first thing I want to do is make sure they have the right colors. So we want to make sure to check this box, because that makes sure that it's associated with the material instance and not the original material. So we're going to be using the original material, the base game. Our material instance is going to be this material instance. So it's going to point at the base game material and add this texture onto it. So we're going to check the texture, check the BCO box to make sure this is the main. So we actually want this part for this one. And the costume, we want to check that and keep that costume. So we have both of our materials that come from our original mesh that we're importing. So then we want to add these materials in the right spots. This is going to depend on your model and how it looks. We can just test things out a little bit. Hey, I've got a first try. Alright, so now all the colors are right. All the materials are right. So we're going to save that skeletal mesh. And now we see our material on the model I dragged into the scene. So we're just about ready to cook, but first we have to make sure that all of our settings are correct. So we're going to go into Edit, Project Settings. So we want to check Use Pack File, check Use IO Store, because that's how this game is built. We want to make sure that we check Generate Chunks, because what that's going to do is it's going to allow us to put our mod into its own pack file without all of the Unreal base assets. So we check Generate Chunks. We also want to make sure that Share Material Shader Code is checked. And we actually want to check Cook Everything in the Project Content Directory. We want to make sure we have all of these settings set for packaging. So we set it to shipping, set it to x64 for this platform. And now we can create a data asset under miscellaneous data asset. And it's going to be a primary asset label. We'll name it something, Mermaid Man Costume. And what this is going to do is it's going to tell Unreal that, hey, all of these assets I want to be cooked. So we're going to name the chunk ID number 1. The base chunk is 0, so anything you create, start from 1 and go up. Cook rule, always cook. Priority 0 is fine. We're going to add explicit assets, so we want both materials, we want both meshes, we want both textures. We don't want the base skeleton, because that's going to be used from the game. So we're going to add our materials, we're going to add our meshes, we're going to add our textures. So we're going to save this with all of our assets here. One thing that I did actually just realize is that we don't have the data asset type of the Cuddly Bob in-game. So we're going to actually have to use one that already has a face if we want to change that model. So I'm actually going to move this. It won't actually affect anything we've already done, but what I am going to do is move it to the cat burglar and override the cat burglar. So I'm going to do that right now. We should be good to go. So now we have everything set up to cook. We're going to click Platforms, Windows, Package, Project. It's going to ask us probably to save the scene we're in because we don't have a map yet. So I'll just name this base map. It doesn't matter. We'll put it in the base directory. And once it saves the map, it should package the project. So it'll ask me where I want to put the build. So I'm going to pick a folder. I'm going to put it right here next to my Unreal project. We're going to call it Mermaid Man Build. Select that folder. And you're going to see this pop-up packaging project for Windows. We can check the output log to see that everything's happening. It's compiling some shaders. That's expected. Now, if we look in our build folder, we can see that we have a folder for our model. So we set our pack chunk 0, that's our base game, that's our level map. And our pack chunk 2 is what I set our Mermaid Man costume to be, chunk 2. So now that we have that, we're going to want to name this something so that it doesn't clash with other people's mods. So we're going to name this Mermaid Man costume. And it's very important that you end it with _P, because that tells Unreal that this is a patch, and this has to come after all of the other assets in the game are loaded. This overrides existing assets. So we're going to go ahead and add that to the base game files, and then we're going to just launch. So we're going to go to our game files. I have a shortcut here. We're going to go Ghost, Content, Packs. We're going to drop it here. And now if we load up, it should just work. So now I'm in the game on a 100% file. I have all the costumes unlocked. So if I go to our Cat Burglar, you can see that it is our Mermaid Man costume. Look at that. That's how you do model replacements. Hope you guys make some fun stuff.